بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا ما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So, we want to review the concept of this what's called ring composition, right? Where the surah begins somewhere and ends somewhere, and then it has part one, well, the part A, which is the same as the last part A, part B, final thing, which is the same as the previous one. And today, for example, just looking at Surah Al-Hujurat, if you just quickly look at Surah Al-Hujurat, um, it was just very obvious, the same structure as well. There's just certain words that just stuck out. Just looking at Surah Al-Hujurat. So if you open Surah Al-Hujurat, the exact same thing. I'm not going to go through it word by word, but just stuck out exactly the same thing. And so basically, you can do it with any surah. It's you just it was just, without even looking at the whole concept. So it starts right at the beginning. Surah Al-Hujurat begins, "Inna Allah Sami'un Alim," and then "Wallahu Basirun bima ta'malun." It starts off with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can hear and knows everything, and Allah can see, He sees everything you're doing. So the beginning is Allah knows, right? Allah knows all these things. Inna Allah Sami'un Alim. Inna Allah ya'lamu ghaiba samawati wal ard. The first the first statement of who Allah is, or the second statement of who Allah is, which is on verse 5, Wallahu Ghafur Rahim, is also the second to last. Or third to last, sorry. Inna Allah Ghafur Rahim, the third to last. So it's not the third to last. Inna Allah Ghafur Rahim, and the second one is Wallahu Ghafur Rahim. The third, the third statement of who Allah is Wallahu Alimun Hakim. And the fourth to last is Wallahu Alimun Khabir. So the third is Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. And the fourth to last, right? So again, it's going back, is Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. Then before that, so then after that, and then so now like this is A, B, C. So now then C is it says وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, and fear Allah that you may be shown mercy. And then it says وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَوَّابٌ رَحِيمٌ. So the middle is the same, the second and the second to last is the same, and the first part and the last part is the same. And so again, go through any surah, you basically find the same thing, right? It's basically the same structure throughout every single surah. Same thing, right? And this helps a lot in putting the surah together as one piece. Okay. So try it. Find a surah and try and do it. Get the English. Look at the themes. Look at the language. Look at the words. It's a little bit harder, of course, in English because sometimes there's a key word that's the same or similar, and it's not so similar in the translation, right? So here we're looking at Yasin. So Yasin 1 to 12 that we read last lesson. Mighty message from a wise God. It mentions Hakim. And then subhanallah, I noticed that in the last part. It mentions from in verses in the last section as well. I noticed the reference to knowledge as well, right? So this was the key kind of like summary that I saw in the first section, which was mighty message from a wise God. Most will not listen. Resurrection and power. And so you noticed, so Allah speaks about power throughout, but then He talks about resurrection right at the end. And so the first part and the last part are the same. This is the end of the surah here, 83. So the first part and the last part. Mighty message from a wise God. And he mentions mighty message from a knowledgeable God. Wise God, knowledgeable God. Right? Mighty message. Most will not listen. Most will not listen. Resurrection. Resurrection. Power. Power. Okay, that was like, so the beginning of the surah and the end of the surah are connected. They're the same. Then B, we go into, in reality, it's like almost also a description and expounding on what most people will not listen. Okay, so what happens usually with what happens most of the time with mankind? The following is the archetypal disbelieving people. What are the archetypes of these people? They are warned, but they're heedless. Same thing in 45 to 68. Warned but yet heedless. Repercussions. So here, again, when you're analyzing a poem, obviously, or analyzing a novel, um, it's not 100% objective, is it? Right? We have to understand that. Like, it's not. I'm not measuring something. It's not like objective that I'm measuring the numbers, right? Um, so we have to concede that this is a human imperfect analysis. But this is the structure that seemed to me. It took me a while to put it together, but it seemed pretty similar. The repercussions. So it mentions in brief the repercussions. Here it mentions the repercussions in a blown out form. It has a section of the repercussions, but section on paradise and section on hell. Okay, but it is in the structure. And then weakness of man. Weakness of man. Right, and we're going to see the right. And then the middle part with that turning part, if you can remember the falak, kullun fi or for kullun fi falakin. So fi falakin, was it wa kullun fi falakin? The letters themselves were like that. The letters, if you remember, were structured in the way where it says, uh, what was it? Kullun fi falakin. K L F Y F L K. Right? Kullun fi falakin. So it was structured in this A, B, C, B, A structure, the letters themselves, and that was A of 40. So for me, it was like that has to be the turning point. That has to be the point where everything comes back to. It must be. So I looked at around it and I could put together 33 to 44 as another section, right? Which was a section on power and blessing. So Allah is almighty and powerful, and you owe him tremendous gratitude because of so many blessings that he gives you, right? And then it goes back B and then A. That was the whole structure of the surah, right? And so what's the utility? What is the point of superimposing or trying to put this structure in? Because then you can see things, right? You can see things. And it helps you pick out things. I didn't think about this ayah from this point of view. That word didn't stick out to me, right? It helps you do tadabbur, reflecting on these words. It's a very useful thing to do, right? And then remind ourselves of the themes: revelation, disbelief, signs in revelation in revelation, and signs in nature. These are two separate things, right? Signs that how the revelation is tremendous and clear, and how nature is a revelation as well. Emotional theological argument from design. Allah has made everything He's amazing, He can resurrect you, and you owe Him gratitude. The weakness of man and the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These go in tandem, right? And we're going to see various verses where they go together. It's not just Allah is mighty and you are weak, but the two of them go together, right? You in your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like that. Right? Okay. So let's go. So we read 1 to 12 anyway, so let's skip that now. Here. So let's just read the end of 12. So it says, you can only warn him who follows the reminder, who diligently may إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر, who diligently and carefully follows the reminder. وَخَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ, and doesn't fear but dreads. He is in awe of whoever. I can see the if you write on the screen, we can see it. So who and who um, one second. And who is in dread and awe, khashya, of the most merciful. So this tells us of the duality, the two-sided nature that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dread and awe and fear and worry and concern and love, because He is Ar-Rahman. In ghaib. So here is translate. This is another translation I didn't use last time, but it's in secret. It's not really a very good translation. It means in absentia, right? While not being there. Like he fears Allah while he's not in front of Allah, right? So announce to him forgiveness, right? فَبَشِّرْهُ بِمَغْفِرَةٍ. Really what it says. Um, so this somebody who keeps give me one second, please. So it says, بِمَغْفِرَةٍ, an unfathomable forgiveness, وَأَجْرٍ كَرِيمٍ, and a very generous reward, not an honorable reward, more a generous reward, right? Surely it is we and we alone. Inna nahnu, it is we and we alone. وَمَا لَنَا مِنَ الْعَظَمَةِ, Allah uses the royal we to show His augustness. We and we alone in our greatness, who continually give life to the dead. Right? It's not that we gave life or we will do it, but it's we can continually do it. Inna nahnu nuhyi al-mauta, the dead, and we write down that which they have sent forward of their good deeds and their footprints, what they've done, and every single thing is recorded in a clear writing that precedes them. Right. So then the structure 2. So now we've shifted from here. We now go to here. Right. So now in B, the archetypal disbelieving people, warned but yet heedless, the repercussions of that and the weakness of man. This is 13 to 32. And we set out to them an example, right? And so again, if we look at the language, whereas Yasin, وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا. One thing that threw me off when I was looking at this is when I heard the word mathal. So the word mathal comes twice in the surah. So it comes on 13, وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا, and strike for them a similitude. Right? One second, please. Okay. So if you look now at the word, so this threw me off, is this word وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا, and it comes twice. So for me, that immediately connected the two dots. It said these two must be connected. But I was unable to put it together in one kind of section. And so perhaps there's something else there. Where it says وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا. So it comes in 13. In 13 it says, where are we? It comes in 13 is وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلًا, and talking about the archetype of people who are warned. And then it says, and then it was um and then it was 78. So I was trying to connect B with 78. I couldn't actually do it. It couldn't work. But there's a clear thing here is Allah uses language, and these two are connected, certainly. 13 and um where is it? And 78. 13 and 78, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, strike for them an example of people who are warned but yet are heedless. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala flips it on mankind, and mankind strikes for us, not for him or me. It doesn't say Allah gives an example, but Allah gives mankind gives an example for us and our greatness, and says, how on earth are you supposed to do? How on earth is somebody supposed to bring life back to these bones? And so there's a clear connection here. Again, the structure I can't pin it all together exactly, but it's somehow these two things are connected. So it's possible that our analysis is not perfect, but there's key things there. So anyway, in part two, what do we see? So we're going to see in 13 to 32, it talks about the archetypal disbelieving people who are warned and are still heedless. They don't listen. What happens to them? Okay, and it says the weak and the weak and righteous, these people they try their best and they go to paradise, and the others are what? Totally destroyed. In Kanat as 28, in Kanat illa sayhatan wahidatan. It is just one cry, an effortless cry, and they are totally destroyed. فَإِذَا هُمْ خَامِدُونَ. And lo and behold, suddenly. So the repercussions and the weakness of man. Look how with the most effortless destruction, these people are destroyed. Don't they know how many a nation we have destroyed? And every single one of them is brought to us weak. So there's the weakness. The repercussions is tied here with the weakness. So there's weakness of man, we're going to see tied to Allah's power in creation and Allah's power in providing, and weakness of man vis-a-vis Allah's punishment. So there's two sides of it, right? Two sides of the weakness. You are very weak in respect to Allah and what He's provided for you, and He's made this, and He's made this, and He's made this, and you are weak, very, very weak vis-a-vis Allah's punishment. You actually can't deal with much punishment, Habibi. I wouldn't. Don't mess with him, because as soon as you are touched by his punishment, right? You can't survive. So don't do that. Don't play with Allah. Don't mess with Allah, right? There's very little we can deal with. SubhanAllah. Okay, so in light of that, let's read the ayahs then, inshallah, 13 to 32. So it says, and set out for them an example of the people of a town, right? What's the connotations of a town? Financial stability, wealth, history, power. So now Allah doesn't come to this person who's in the middle of nowhere and has nothing. This person is a wealthy people. They have status. When the messengers came to it, and we sent to them two messengers, they rejected both of them, and so we strengthened them with a third. So they said, surely we are messengers unto you. This connects to the beginning of the surah, right? Because it mentions right in the beginning of the surah that Prophet Muhammad is of the messengers. He's of the messengers. And they said, you are naught but mortals like us. Why are you even talking to us? Go away. Right? Why are you talking about gods and other stuff? You're just like us. You're no different. There's nothing special about you. So again, Prophet Muhammad is asking himself, well, I'm not that amazing, am I? Here I am giving da'wah, nobody's listening to me. I can't do this, I can't do anything. Like I can't make them listen to me. And he says, yes, that's the same case before. Every single great prophets like you, O Prophet Muhammad, great prophets were just humans at the end of the day. And so they'll look at you as just humans, and that's true. And that is the test for them. And it is the test for all of us. That we look at amazing people that we live with or that we are in our lives, right? And we just see them like they're just normal people. Yeah, they are. It's true. But that doesn't mean they're not a test for you. I mean, you're not tested through them, right? So they are not, but you are not but mortals like ourselves. Nor has the most merciful revealed anything. You're only lying. So this is the archetypal, the standard response of every kafir, right? Just move on. Right? And they said, Our Lord knows that we are most surely messengers unto you, and nothing devolves on us. We're not responsible for anything apart from the message. I, Prophet Muhammad, your job is just conveying the message. They said, Surely we augur evil from you. You're actually a bad omen. And if you don't stop, we will certainly stone you to death. Right? And there shall certainly afflict you a painful punishment. SubhanAllah, look at the irony. It is you who will be punished. And they said, Your evil fortune is with you. The evil that you're looking at is only with yourself. And this is the case with every cynical person. The cynicism of the cynical person is only in their own eyes. The evil of the evil person only hits themselves. Right? What if you are reminded, even if you're reminded, right? I.e., what's the implied sentence here? Even if you're being reminded by Allah, you still look at us and still say things like this, right? You are an extravagant people, subhanallah. What is it that destroys people? Notice I mentioned city. You are people of extravagance. You have so much money, so much stability. You live life and you experience such luxury that you don't see your own weakness anymore, and you become proud. And that is the case with every single one of us, right? I remember buying my first car and the feeling of driving my first car. It was I live in America now. For an American car, it's a tiny little European car, right? And it was like I bought it in maybe it was like a 12-year-old car. It's not even a new car, but the sense of the power. Oh, wow, I have a car. So you give this little upstart, you give this little upstart the smallest little thing of power and suddenly you feel a different way. Oh, I got an A plus in my math test. What, a grade 8 math test? Why are you even proud? But that's how silly we are as humans, right? We're this tiny little speck on one little planet and dot in the middle of the universe, and suddenly we have this pride about us. And Allah's going to mention that explicitly. So this is um, so this point here, this concept here in 19 is exactly the same as um, as 77, right? As 77. And it's going to come other places as well, but particularly in 77, right? This concept that you're nobody and then suddenly you're just proud and arrogant, right? You're an extravagant people. So this is a key concept. The Prophet ﷺ also told us to practically not to live an extravagant life for fear that we should become like that. The Prophet ﷺ said, I'm not concerned for poverty. Poverty is not my concern for you. Wealth is my concern, my concern for you, right? Decadence is a problem for us. Right? And from the remote part of the city, some nobody comes running, right? And what does that mean, running? That's what slaves do, right? So running around is what a slave does. In Arabic, you say a female slave is called jariya, the girl who runs around, your run around, right? So the idea of being decadent and wealthy and being a low life who has to run around. So he comes running in haste, right? Notice this is the analogy as well in Surah Abasa, in Abasa, right? أما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى. As for the blind Sahabi that came to you rushing, he's in desperation, right? وهو يخشى, and he's in dread, right? So this is the same concept here. Oh, my people, I care for you, right? Follow the messengers. Follow him who does not ask anything for you. He's not asking for money. He's not trying to become the king. It's not anything. I.e., this is the same message. Prophet Muhammad is not trying to become king of Saudi Arabia. He's not trying to do anything. He just wants to help you, right? SubhanAllah, is like, as a teacher of kids at school, telling the kid, go on the front line. I told one of the kids, I said, So and so, don't sit at the back of the masjid, go on the front line. Why? Do you know why I'm telling you to do this? It's like, no, you're just telling me to do stuff. It's annoying because you're my teacher. It's like, no, I don't benefit from you being in the back or the front. I want you to be in the front of the masjid because you get more ajr. I'm only telling you for your sake. I'm only telling you for your own sake. It's only for you. And they are the followers of the right path. Right? What's the verse? اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. Yeah, that is quite a good translation. Followers of a right course, وهم مهتدون. They are that's quite a good translation there. Um, and what reason have I that I should not serve him and worship him who has brought me into existence? Right? So not only do I owe him my life, but I'm also scared that I'm going to turn back to him and he's going to ask me lots of awkward questions. And to him I shall be brought back. Right? What? Shall I take besides him gods whose intercession, if the benevolent should desire to afflict me with harm, should not avail me? I.e., if Allah says I die, what is a false god going to do? And if the Ar-Rahman says live, what is a false god going to do? He has no power. Why would I worship him? Doesn't do anything. If the beneficent Allah should desire to afflict me with harm, right, should not avail me in aught, in anything at all, and help me at all, nor shall they be able to deliver me. So in reality here, this is not just the weakness of man and the power of Allah, but the weakness of every single thing besides Allah. In that case, I shall most surely be in a clear error. So this word dalan in mubin comes in the Quran, I don't know how many times. Many times. Dalan mubin. What does it mean? So dalal doesn't mean error. Dalal means going off the path and being lost. Okay? Being lost. Dalla yadillu dalalan wa dalalatan. Right? So and so went off the path and he doesn't know where he is now. So that's called dalla. Okay? And mubin is from the word bayin. Bayin is clear. So it's not clear, it's clarifying. Right? It clarifies to you what it is. So if you can think of something that is wrong, and it's so wrong that it stands out like a sore thumb, right? Like you're looking through a bunch of toys, and this one obviously isn't the right box because it's this. You're looking at a car driving the wrong way down the freeway, so it stands out without thinking. It is a card carrying error. It's like, hi, I'm an error. So it is a lostness that tells you, hi, a self-identified, a self-explaining error. That's what it is. Like it's so off that it just tells you already that it's off, right? You're looking at a graph and there's an anomaly. So yeah, that's just obviously off, right? Just ignore it, right? It tells you by the fact how far it is off to the other stats that is off. That's dalal mubin, a wandering off from the path that says, "Hi, I am off." That's what it is. Okay. And being in it means surrounded by it. So you are in a room which is called self-evident lostness. Self-evident lostness. Right? And that's a room that you're in. في ضلال مبين. Right? And also it's not الضلال المبين. It is not. So if you said lostness, you say الضلال. So this is not lostness. This is some kind of lostness, right? So if you try to translate it, to paraphrase it, in is he is in, i.e., surrounded by, or I would be in, i.e., surrounded by some kind of weird and messed up, self-evident lostness. That's what fi dalalin mubin means. Surrounded by some crazy, undefinable, undescribable, self-evident lostness. في ضلال مبين. Okay? Surely I believe in your Lord. Therefore hear me. And it was said, i.e., here's the ikhtisar, the hadf, and the ijaz here, the brevity. Nobody listened to him. Nobody cared about him. In fact, they killed him. This is the lot of good people. By default, if you do what is right, you will be killed. You will be targeted. You will suffer. So persecution, right? This is a Meccan surah, right? This is a Meccan surah. So this is in Mecca, and this is a time of abuse. If you do what is right, you will suffer. Don't worry. That is the very neat. That is the sunnah of Allah. If you do what is right, you will be targeted. If you want to be, if you want to be on the side of the Mahdi, you're gonna have to go get the Dajjal. You're gonna have to deal with the Dajjal. That's how it is. You're gonna be abused. You're gonna starve. You're gonna suffer. You're gonna lose property. You're gonna lose everything. You have to. This is the mentality. So for 13 years, the Sahaba were trained to suffer, trained to be persecuted, trained to be do what is right, even though you are gonna lose in the dunya. That's how it is. That's how it's gonna be. Right? And it was said, so uh, the passive enter paradise, but immediately he entered paradise or was rewarded, and he said, "Oh, would that my people had known, right? If only they knew of that of that on account of which my Lord has forgiven me and made me of the honored ones. So I benefited and they lost. So in the dunya, I will lose most likely, but I will win 100%, 120% in with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will be the ones who are lost. If only. What a sad situation that they didn't listen. Um, and we did not send down upon his people after him any hosts from heaven. Right? We didn't need to send down angels to destroy the people. Right? We didn't have to do this and we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to send down more prophets. We didn't give them a second warning. No, nothing happened. What happened? It was just one single cry, the effortless destruction. And lo, they were still. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to look at archaeology. Look at archaeology. See how many civilizations have come and gone. Right? And the pagan Arabs, they used to travel. They used to travel to ancient Iraq. They used to see things. Whole cities gone, disappeared. What happened to these people? What happened to these civilizations? Where are they? Right? This is what Allah does. This is the sunnah of Allah. Gives people power, gives people technology, gives people this, and then tests them. How are you going to act now? How are you going to act? It was one sayha, one cry, not like cries and someone's crying, like one shout, just one shout, and that's it. And they were destroyed. فَإِذَا هُمْ خَامِدُونَ. Alas for the servants, right? Ya hasratan. Ya hasratan means, oh sorrow. Like, sorrow, please come here, right? You pick up the phone, like imagine somebody did this, right? They pick up the phone and be like, hi, can I talk to sorrow, please? Right? Ala al-ibad. Oh, sadness for the servants. Isn't it sad that this is how Allah, that this is what people do? There comes not to them an angel, a messenger, but they mock him. Every single time a messenger comes, they just think this is just stupid. Oh, great, the sheikh is talking again. Isn't this funny, right? And for many of us, I lived in the Arab, in Jordan. Many people, you see the same kind of thing in other places. Like religious people, they're just fools, right? So in the Arab world, we have the story of Juha. Everyone's familiar with the stories of Juha? You're not sorry. So it's like traditional stories of like funny stories of a funny man that does things in the past that kind of there's often lessons in it, but it's like some kind of funny stories, right? What's he called in Afghanistan? Does anybody know? He's called Mullah Nasruddin, right? So what does that mean about the society? It means that the archetypal fool, right? The archetypal fool, the picture of this funny guy that does dumb things that you kind of learn things from, but the guy's a fool at the end of the day, right? The archetypal fool is a mullah, is a sheikh. So on a big level, religion is always like that dumb religion. Like here we go again, isn't religion. But this is how we as Muslims, we look at things, right? Sheikh in, for example, in Jordan, when you say sheikh, that's not a nice term. That means uneducated, foolish, backward religious person. That's what it means, right? There not comes to the not there comes not to them a messenger, but they mock at him. They just laugh at him. إِلَّا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. They used to do it again and again and again. They used to always do that. They would just continually laugh at religion. They laughed at Sayyidina Nuh. They laughed at this. It's just a joke. It's just stupid, right? Alam yara, did they not consider how many a generation we have destroyed before them? Because they did not turn to them, right? So it says here, because they did not turn to them. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. So you could translate it in this. You can translate it like, look at them. They didn't come back, did they? They're not there anymore, right? وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. And every single one of them, وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. And every single one of them before us shall surely be brought. So in the English, it sounds like that's going to happen in the future, right? First of all, the word before us is put last, okay? So we said the us, meaning the royal we, right? So it will be, these people will be brought before us, i.e. for punishment on Judgment Day. But the English comes out is this will happen on Judgment Day, right? All these people were destroyed, and then on Judgment Day, they'll be brought before us. What does the Arabic say? And it says, every single one of them before us is brought, not will be brought, is brought. Muhdarun. They're already done. So there's a number of things here. Number one, the passive, right? They are brought. It's not like Allah's not saying, oh, I'm going to have to, put a lot of effort to bring you back. It will be done, right? It will be done. The passive is used frequently in the Quran for this effortlessness, right? If you do not pay by tomorrow, your house will be destroyed, right? If you don't want to cooperate with the mafia, you and your family will be killed. Not that we're going to have to do the effort. It's just going to be done. Don't mess with us. It will be done, right? I.e. effortlessly. So there's the effortlessness. There is the augustness before us, right? But the word before us comes first in Arabic, right? And it says will be before us, and then muhdarun will be brought, but it doesn't say will be brought, they are brought. Muhdar, they are brought already. So Allah is not waiting for anything to happen, right? Allah is not waiting for anything to happen. So if we can imagine the analogy, and وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, we can't make an analogy between Allah and the Creator, right? Is that there is a mouse in the paw of a bored lion, and he's just playing with it. So any minute the lion can do it. But with Allah, there's no time. So the mouse is laughing at the lion, but the lion has said, I've already eaten you. Because for me, it's already happened. So it's not that who will have the last laugh then, it's who is having the last laugh now. Right? And so there's a temporal element as well that's just lost in the English that you can't really put that. Okay, so that is B. Okay, so A, B, 13 to 32. Now we're going to see the turning point. Okay, which is going to be what? Allah is powerful. You owe Allah. Okay, so Allah's going to go through, I believe, 3 examples of this, 3 angles of how Allah, look at this, look at this, look at this. And the last one that then says, وَآيَةٌ لَهُمْ. Okay, and a sign. A great sign for them is the dead earth. So this is a sign. Look how the earth is dead and it gets resurrected, i.e., they can be brought back. Just like the earth can be brought back, Allah mentions many times in the Quran, similarly the dead can be brought back. Excuse me. And then it says, we, not I, we give it life and bring forth from it grain. So, and this is not sure whether there's a typo here. So they can eat from it, i.e., you benefit from it. So you owe us. There's a debt now, the moral debt. ليأكلوا من That's 33. فمنه يأكلون. Okay. And we make therein gardens. وجعلنا فيها. And so we affix and make established. We establish therein. Not just make, we establish therein. Many a great gardens of palm trees and uh, and vineyards. And we make springs to flow, to pour out. وَفَجَّرْنَا فِيهَا. We make them explode. They don't just trickle, they explode. We make springs to burst forth therein. وَفَجَّرْنَا فِيهَا مِنَ الْعُيُونِ. Why? So that they may eat of the fruit thereof, and that their hands did not make. This is not a good translation here. And their hands did not make it. لِيَأْكُلُوا مِنْ ثَمَرِهِ وَمَا عَمِلَتْهُ أَيْدِيهِمْ. That they may eat of that which their hands have made. Not, they did not make it. Wallahu alam. I'm just going to look at another translation here. That's not really. So if those of you who are following from the Quran beheld, where is this? So, there are scenarios in the Quran, it does happen, where there's more than one way you could look at it. So it's not impossible. It's not wrong. I'm not saying that this is a wrong translation or a wrong tafsir, because reality translation is a tafsir. But it just doesn't seem very likely. So let's see here how Shikhnor translated it. So he uses made burst forth, right? Exploded. And what their heart, yeah, what their hands have prepared. So the same translation here. It's not. So this is not correct. That it's not. It's not that. It's not ma nafiya. It doesn't mean wa ma. It doesn't mean didn't. It means and that which, right? And the ma is used also in for generosity. All those different things. So Allah is also saying, look, you did all this hard work, but we made it helpful for you. So on all these different things that your hard work towards, um, we make you unable to eat those things. أَفَلَا يَشْكُرُونَ. Will they not be grateful? Glorified, subhan, right? That means subhan is from al-faras as-sabuh, the horse that you couldn't catch up with, right? So everybody is, someone's going down the road on a donkey, someone's going on a cow, someone's going on a horse, the horse is fast, and then boom, this horse goes fast. Whoa, right? That's called al-faras as-sabuh, right? Sabihati sabha. Allah's mentioned the angels that rush through the universe, right? They rush through. You couldn't catch up with it. So, subhanallah means, wow, I can't catch up with the reality of what Allah is. That's what it means, right? Subhanallah. فسبحان So it says subhanalladhi خلق الأزواج. He made all the different things of creature. كلها, of that which the earth grows, and of their own kind, وَمِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, and of that which they don't even know. Right? So you don't know, and you can't do we know, and we can do. Right? So this is all power vis-a-vis, so Allah's power reflected and your inability. Allah's knowledge and your lack of knowledge. Allah's power and your weakness when it comes to being punished. You can't deal with it. So 36. And then it says, وَآيَةٌ لَهُمُ اللَّيْلِ, that we draw forth, we literally skin. Salkh is the skin. We skin off from it the day. And then lo, suddenly there's a change. They are in darkness. Right? And it says, فَإِذَا هُمْ مُظْلِمُونَ, and they are in darkness. And the sun runs to an appointed time for it. That is the ordinance of the mighty and the knowing. Notice that? The combination of the two things. Allah has power and Allah knows. You don't have power and you don't know. Right? وَالْقَمَرَ, and it mentions the moon twice in reality. So it says the moon. So here we can't, we don't have, it's kind of impossible to translate this. Let me just see how Sheikh Noor has translated, because it's kind of, so a lot of these things you can appreciate, but you really just couldn't even put it into English. So he says, yeah, he can't translate. And we have set forth the moon in stages. So it says, well, qamara, which means, and we have set forth in stages the moon, we have set forth it in stages. So what's happening in the Arabic is the word moon has a little tag on it, has a fatha. That says, hey, I'm an object of an implied verb. So there is kind of a pre-echo of the verb, we have ordained it. So ordained it, the moon, we have ordained it. So the action and the power of Allah comes twice. You can't really do that, right? So if we're looking at the, just as a side point, looking at the translation, the Quran beheld, right, which is an ijtihad in understanding the Quran and an ijtihad in how to convey that into English in the best possible way. Sometimes you just can't. So if you look at, for example, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you just can't translate it. So the translation is not particularly different to any other translation because you just can't translate it, period. Right? It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how well you understand the Arabic and explain the Arabic. You just can't convey that into English, period. You could write an explanation of it, but you couldn't actually translate it. It's just untranslatable. So this is an example here. This is just untranslatable. So it says, ordained it, the moon, we have ordained it in fixed stages, right? والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم, since it returns like a dry palm branch. Neither the sun or the moon is allowable to the sun that it should overtake the moon, nor can the night outstrip the day. وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكِ يَسْبَحُونَ. Right, and each course is in a mighty round. And I said this is the key turning point, because we look at the language. It says وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ. It is approximately in the middle of the surah, which is ayah 40. وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ, KLFYFLK. Right? وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ. Each, it's in its own orbit. And each courses in a mighty round. Here, each of them float in a sphere. Right? وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكِ يَسْبَحُونَ. Right? Now, key thing to understand. The deen has been preserved and the deen has been understood. So you can't come along in the year 1400 and say, I have a new understanding of the deen. But it's true and it's false. It's true in that Aqidah, we know what Aqidah is, we know what we believe and what we don't believe. Fiqh, we know what's halal and what's haram. All the discussions are there. This hadith is sahih, this hadith is da'if. We know these kind of things. As for the nuances, like what exactly? So we're looking at the themes of Yasin. It's pretty overt: power, life and death, resurrection, weakness of man. Okay, but what? Why, if Allah Subhanahu wa Taala chose the Quran, the surah, to converge on kullun fi falakin, why? So you go and ask somebody, for example, my teacher Sheikh Ali Hani, basically the co-author, effectively the co-author of um, Quran Beheld, why there's going to be, you know, it's not going to be easy. There's no there's no answer on a golden plate for you, on a golden platter. So the nuances, the structure, the subtleties of these things, this is something that it is still, we can go on for another 20 million years trying to research. It's not that it's not known, it's just that it's so profound, right? So what is the Pacific Ocean? It's a big body of water. We know what it is. Have you seen every single thing and do you understand all of its systems? No, Habibi, you have no idea, right? There is so much to be discovered, so many things that we really don't understand yet. The nuances, the subtleties. So here's a question. Why is it true that Surah Yasin converges on this point? Is this the center of the surah? And it comes around, is this the center of that ring composition? And if so, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the planets and not, for example, rain or food or life and death? Right? I don't know the answer. Inshallah, you will all research it and you will have some kind of deep answer there. There is much to be discovered in all of these things, right? So tafsir is there's a lot of very clear things. The deen in general is understood. But when you get to the specifics, the subtleties of these things, it can go on forever, right? Go on forever. What is the relationship between this and the theme of the surah and the Quran in general? I don't know. So that's number 40. Neither is allowed to the sun that it should overtake the moon, nor can the night overshadow the day, and each is in its sphere. And then we move on. So that was A, and then B. We now finish B, the archetypal disbelievers, and we're now back to B part 2. Okay, we're now back to B part 2, which is now the archetypal disbelieving people. So again, this is my itchy head, my analysis here. Warned yet heedless, repercussions of that, and then we're going to see A at the end here, inshallah. So we'll continue, inshallah. Next lesson, we're going with B and A, inshallah ta'ala. Perhaps we'll just do B, we'll see, inshallah ta'ala. Any questions or queries? So so the point is it's that great thing becomes like this petty thing that you could break up in your fingers. It becomes so small, right? So the point is the crescent of the moon, which is like this date leaf that has now been dried up, and so you could just break it, and it's very thin. So you can imagine pulling out the moon from the sky and just breaking it. It's so thin. That's the imagery. Hmm. And thin. So the thinness and the weakness. Yeah. Okay. Okay, inshallah. So we'll stop here. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك